We'll get started here in just a second. While we're giving people time to come on, we're going to start pouring our paint. So today I'm using for our third eye chakra, our Ajna chakra, spelt Anja, or Ajna, spelled Ajna, but pronounced Agnya. We are using Magenta. We're using Magenta. We're using Phthalo blue. So from our last chakra, that should be familiar. And then if you have it, and it's not like super important, you can also use purple. It doesn't look very, but this is violet. So you can also use violet if you have purple. And then we're going to use a little bit of blue too to give our chakra that kind of dark purple, indigo. So it'll give us that indigo vibe that we're looking for. And then to start out with, we're going to use our biggest brush. So my favorite bristle brush here, which works great in getting in the background. So something like this, whatever you got. We're going to start pouring our paint. Turn on my blue. Putting my magenta on there. And today I'm using a 12 by 12 canvas, but any size canvas is going to work on this. I'm going to put on my purple. So if you have a rectangle canvas, no problem. If your canvas is a little bit smaller than mine, no problem. If you're working on paper, no problem. We're just going to cater our circle to whatever size canvas we have. So now that I got my paint, ooh, and we can't forget our white. But after we put on our background, just like before, we'll give ourselves a little break for our background to dry, and we can talk more about this chakra, our sixth chakra, our third eye chakra. So let's get going. First, I'm going to put on the lightest color that I have, which is the magenta, not the white, but the lightest color that I have, the magenta. And I'm just going to start with that right in the center of my canvas. So really just start brushing it on there haphazardly, and then just moving the paint to the edges of your canvas. So from the center out. If you have purple, you can throw that on there too. But really you can put it wherever you want, but really our phthalo blue and our magenta are going to make the purple. So now I've got some color on there. I'm going to go ahead and start adding my blue while my paint is wet. So just going around the edges, the outside of my canvas first, and then I'm going to move towards the center. So in all kinds of chakra art, you're going to see that the purpliness of the Ajna chakra varies. It varies a lot. So it really depends. Some are more on the dark blue, sort of navy side, and some are more purpley, like a deep purple. So it's up to you. So now I've got my blue on there. I'm going to go back into that magenta, and I'm going to start to work that into my blue as well. So now we're going to really see that purple coming out, and we're just mixing this right on the canvas, not really worrying about it being like a uniform color. That doesn't really matter here. I like the energy, kind of like the tie-dye effect that you get from there being sort of different varieties of blue and purple and magenta. It's going to make your painting special. So my front is all covered. And While that's covered, we're just gonna go ahead and hit the edges of our canvas so that we don't have to worry about framing it. We can kind of hang these gallery style all together. Or if you wanted to, you could frame them all together. You could frame them separately. It's really up to you. But I think it just, since there's 7 of them, right? Who wants to buy 7 frames? So this is easier. Just painting the edges makes it look nice and uniform. I'm just gonna work my way all around. If you have any questions, you can always type them in the comments. And we'll talk a little bit about the Ajna chakra, the third eye chakra, and then we'll take a seat. Well, I'm going to take a seat. You might already be sitting, and we can actually do our yoga break today right from the chair. So nice, awesome, calming yoga break today that can be done in a chair or standing. So it depends on how you're painting today. I'm painting standing, but I want to give you the versatility of working from the chair. So our third eye chakra is really exciting. We started out really embodied with the root chakra, the sacral chakra, which was all about our emotions, the solar plexus chakra, which is all about our energy and power, our heart chakra, which is about our connection with other people, our throat chakra, about our ability to communicate, and also creativity. And then finally, our third eye chakra, which is our command center. Like that's our brain, right? It's our ability to see. It's our ability to know and take. We're getting into the subtler parts of our consciousness. So let's go take it to the chair. Background is drying. We're going to take a little seat. So I have my chair on a yoga mat, and that's only because when you're really getting into chair yoga, you want to have like a nice, secure spot. You want your chair to not move around, but we're not going to be doing a whole lot of moving around. So when you find your chair, you can also do this standing. If you're standing, we're going to stand in Tadasana, which is just our mountain pose. But if you're sitting, you want to move to the edge of your chair so you're not tempted to lean back here. And we're going to do a little bit of focusing on the breath and a little bit of relaxing of our face, because the Ajna chakra is right here, and right here in the middle of the brow is a place where we tend to hold a lot of tension. So move forward on your chair and then really ground your feet into the floor. So you want to really have most of your weight onto your feet as you're sitting on the chair. And of course, if you're in Tadasana, same thing, really ground down. You'll have your feet about hip distance apart, feeling really steady in your pose. I'm going to sit. All right. And then you can place your hands on your knees, palms facing down or up, or on your thighs. And then bring your shoulders down and back so that you're sitting nice and tall. Then you're going to tuck your chin in slightly and breathe here. Really feel your weight settling down into the chair, your feet settling down into the ground. And we're going to do a little face relaxation here. On your next inhale, I want you to feel your face. Feel what your face is doing right now. Are you holding tension in your jaw? If you are, just slightly release your teeth from your bottom teeth, from your top teeth. And then make sure that your tongue is just gently pressed up against the roof of your mouth, just naturally. From there, we'll move up into the cheeks. Gently release any tension from your cheeks by imagining them moving back on your face, and down your face. Your eyebrows slightly separating as your face relaxes further. And then bring your attention in between your brows, making sure to still keep the brows separate, not bringing them together to focus the attention there. Now try to relax the scalp on your head. Like try to relax that skin there. Maybe feeling the hair follicles gently moving down the scalp. And from here, we're going to try to bring our awareness to the back of the head. So moving from the third eye, from in between the brows, moving back. And breathe. Every inhale, making sure that the crown of your head reaches higher and higher. And every exhale, relaxing your face further and bringing your awareness further back. When you're ready, gently wiggle your fingers, maybe wiggle your toes. And let's bring our awareness back to our eyeballs, back to the front of our face. And you can gently open your eyes. All right. So from here, we're going to take tree pose. Now, if you're standing, I invite you to come up and you can do what I call, or what we call, a tripod. So bringing your heel to your ankle, and you can use the chair to keep your balance. And you can stand here, and here we bring our focus inward to keep our balance. We can also look 3 feet ahead of us to keep our balance. Or you can do it in the chair. And I learned this from Jivanana Heyman. He does accessible yoga. So he taught us to we can do the left knee, take the left knee out and put the heel on the edge of your chair. And then bring your foot into the center and take your weight and distribute it to that, what would be your standing foot. And here we can still pull in that hip, strengthening that outer thigh. And here you can bring your hands to heart center. And here we're still going to bring our chest towards the thumbs, towards our thumbs, and stand up tall. And then you want to bring your vision about 3 feet in front of you, finding yourself a focal point or a drishti. And breathing as you hold your balance here. Again, bringing our awareness to our focal point. Very much a Ajna Chakra pose, since it's so focused on keeping balance, on centering your thoughts, centering yourself. All right, and then we got to do the other side. So I'm going to take my standing leg, put it in front of me, and then take my right foot, take the heel, and put it on the outside of my chair leg. Again, standing up tall, breathing in, and finding my focus point. If you're feeling very balanced, you can bring your arms up overhead. And then maybe grow limbs on your tree. Another fun exercise, if you're feeling balanced, is to close your eyes. Now a little bit easier if you're in a chair. If you're standing, please hold on to something. And breathe. And then bringing our hands back to heart center. We can bring our leg back to the front. And here, just to counter that, we're going to take a gentle forward fold. So you can keep your hands on your knees and then lengthen your spine and then gently move forward, keeping your spine nice and long as you bend forward. And if you can, if this feels okay on your back, you can lay your body over your knees and maybe put your hands on the floor. Only if that's okay for your balance and for your back. And then I'm going to bring my hands back to my hips, and with a strong back, sit back up. Okay, so hopefully your painting's dry now. We're going to go back and check on that, and then we're going to put our circle back on our painting and get to painting this chakra. Okay, so let's check our canvas. Still a little tacky, that's okay. So hopefully your painting is dry. And now, this is where we want to grab our cup, and we're going to have opportunities to go back over this background. So you'll see mine, there's like some transparent parts, that's okay. As this background dries, after we put on the circle, we're going to go back in and we're going to paint over that, add some texture. So that's gonna be something that we can work with. So for this, you're gonna want your pointy brush. So whatever pointy brush you have, your smallest brush. Another thing that works for drawing on our circle is our small square brush. If you have a small flat square brush like this, you can actually make a pretty thin line using the edge of that. So either pointy or square is gonna work for you. And then we're going to put our circle on. So let's take our bowl, and then we just want to make sure that it's right in the center of our canvas. So using our bowl stencil, we're going to bring our hand all around that bowl, making sure that we have enough space going around. And then I'm going to take a little bit of water on my brush and just mix it with the edge of my white paint, getting some paint on there, making sure my paint is nice and thin, and then rolling my brush around to make sure that point comes back. And we can put our bowl right in the center. And I'm gonna take my brush and the white paint, and I'm just gonna trace this bowl all the way around. We're gonna take our time getting to our petals because we've only got 2 petals to do. So we can really take some time on this background, get it in there perfect. Now you can put your brush back in your water cup, and you want to make sure, if you haven't watched the previous videos, you want to make sure you keep your brushes in your water cup so that the brushes don't dry. Acrylic paint can be really nasty stuff once it dries onto anything like fabric, anything fibrous. So you want to always keep your brushes in your water cup. From there, I'm going to take my medium square brush. And if you have your napkin, you can dab some of that extra water on there. I'm going to get a little bit more magenta onto my plate. And now that my circle's on there, while I'm waiting for my circle to dry, I'm going to take a little bit of this magenta and I'm going to start to work it into my background. My background over here is looking pretty purpley, so I'm just going to take, or a little bit on the blue side, so I'm just going to take the thick side of my brush and start to make these rounded strokes using my chakra circle as kind of my focal point, if you will, for how I want my strokes to move around the canvas. And we're just using the thick side of our brush. It doesn't have to be complete circles. You don't want it to look like a target. Just can kind of go every which way, like smiley faces, frowny faces. Maybe we can think of them as C's. Using big movements with our arm going around. If you're trying to blend, you want to hit them before they dry. So I'm just going to go right back over those blue marks with some of my magenta. If you have purple, you can throw purple in there too. It's just a violet. I don't really like using violet as a main color, only because in my experience, most violets that I've worked with are just like almost clear. They're just like really transparent and you can't really tell. There we go. They're just, yeah, when you like put them on and you make a stroke, that's what happens. So I don't like using it as a main color. You can get really nice purples by using red and blue or magenta and blue, crimson and blue. You don't really need the violet, but I have it, so why not use it? So I'm just going to kind of mix it in there. It stretches my other colors. I'm just working my way around the outside of my circle. Going back and forth between the blue and the magenta and kind of mixing them together and getting this cool halo effect, this kind of vortex effect going around, giving this chakra that energy. Because our chakras are all about energy. So another thing about the Ajna chakra is it's about not only seeing, being able to see things for what they are, but it's also about knowing, and more importantly, knowing yourself. So in yoga, there's a Sanskrit word for self-study called pronounced svadvaya. Why can't I say it now? Svadhyaya. And that means self-study. So this is what I wanted, what my intention was with these chakra paintings were just a gentle and carefree way to engage in a little bit of self-study. So starting from the most, anatomical parts of ourselves and the most obvious parts of ourselves, like our home life and our emotions, and then moving into the more subtle parts of ourselves. So that's why I like doing chakra projects. They're a form of self-study for me. And they're really pretty. Like you come out with something really pretty at the end. It's a rainbow. So I love it. So let me know what you think. If you're finding the same thing as you move through these chakras, if you're realizing things about yourself or maybe noticing things like while you're doing these paintings, I want to know. Let me know. All right. So I am really liking that vortex. I feel like the light right now is not doing it justice. There we go. So just going wet on wet. I've got a vortex of colors and you see it's like not perfect, right? It's not like perfectly blended. It doesn't have to be. It actually looks a little bit better the more painterly and brushstrokey it looks. So we're doing good. And now we're going to put a triangle in the center of this. So our Ajna chakra is like just really nice and simple. We've got a triangle and 2 petals on the outside. So we don't have like a whole lot more to do. So we're going to go ahead and throw in that triangle. And then we'll talk about putting on those petals. And then we can do a little bit more decorating, a little bit more making it special in the center and in the petals. So let's do that. So we're going to move back to our pointy brush. And I'm using, I think this is a straight edge, right? This is my painting straight edge. But you can use like a ruler. I think this is a frame for a screen for like an outdoor screen. So, you know, use what you have, whatever you have lying around, something straight that you don't mind getting paint on. So I'm going to take this straight edge and my pointy brush and my white paint. And first things first, I'm going to find the center of my circle and move right to the bottom of my circle. So this is the bottom center of my circle. So if I were to split my circle in half, I'm going to put my dot right on the bottom there. All right, and then I'm going to move across the top. I'm just going to take my straight edge, and I would say, I don't know, from the top of my particular circle, and your circle is going to be a different size, but from the top of my circle, I've got like 2 fingers down. So gauging about 2 fingers down, I'm going to draw a straight line across. All right, there we go. And then you guessed it, we're just going to make a V at the bottom, connecting the ends of our line to this center line here. So we're connecting the dots. Woo, there we go. We've got a triangle. So now you can always go over those lines if you like. I know it's kind of scary doing it without the straight edge. You can do it with the straight edge if you want to. I just like to get a nice thick line across so I know that it's there. Beautiful. And then from there, we want to put on our petals. So we're going to do that next. So our petals, let's see. We wanted to take up, because there's only 2 of them, right? So we don't want to have like 2 really small petals. Although if you did that, it wouldn't be wrong. We want them to like take up a good amount of space on our chakra. So I would say about leaving your, like maybe like a hand's width at the top and at the bottom is going to give you enough of a petal. So what are these petals? There's debate. Since the third eye chakra is about the third eye, it's been said that the petals kind of make the shape of an eye. So you've got your pupil right in the center, and then you've got the pointy parts of your eyes on either side. I like that, right? It's a visual thing. I'm a visual person, so I like that explanation. So we're gonna go along with that. Okay, so I'm gonna take my hand to the top of my circle. I'm just gonna place it there, and then on either side of my hand, I'm gonna make a dot. And I'm making marks on my canvas, so I'm just gonna kind of guesstimate. There we go. And then I want to mirror that on the bottom. So I'm just going to approximately say that it's there and that my other dot is there. You can also use your straight edge to see if you're right. And I'm going to say that that's okay. I like that. All right. And then, so obviously you don't want your petals to fall off of the canvas. You want them to kind of stay in that vicinity, and you want to leave enough space so that your chakra is nicely framed. So on either side of my canvas here, I have 2 fingers space, giving it about 2 fingers space of framing. And especially if you're going to put a frame on it, you probably want to give it a little bit more space. So you can even do like 3 fingers in. And then from the center there, yeah, we're going to say 3 fingers. So we're going to go 3 fingers from the outside, from the center here, 3 fingers from the outside, or depending on how big your canvas is and what you're up to, we can also go 3 fingers from the outside of our circle. There we go. And I'm leaving marks. Quick fix. All right. So 3 fingers from the outside of your circle, from the center of the This is my left. So there we go. So now we're going to connect the dots on this side. So let's go. So I'm going to start with a frowny face, and then I'm going to start to move out as I reach this circle. So when I get to about this point here, I'm going to start to make a smiley face. So I'm going to go frowny face and then smiley face. And you can always fix this afterwards. That's a little bit exaggerated, but you get my drift. And I'm going to go from the other side. This time it's a smiley face, mirroring that as best I can to a frowny face. And that's not too bad. So here's the tricky part. Now you have to replicate that on the other side. So that's always fun. I'm going to see if maybe if I move to the other side, you can see it. So now we're going 3 fingers outside of our circle on the left or on the right side here. And I'm going to go 3 fingers out. I'm going to make my dot. And again, I'm going to take that. I'm going to do a frowny face and then a smiley face. And then we're going to go on the bottom. We're going to try to mirror that. Smiley face, frowny face. And there we go. We've got our 2 petals. So I've said this before, the more petals, the easier, because it doesn't have to be as even. We just have 2 petals here. So you're human. It's probably going to look a little bit uneven. That has nothing to do with the state of your third eye chakra. Don't worry. But if you are worried, you know, just, I don't know, get a little bit of get some lavender oil or something and put it right there. You should be fine. Balanced. Done. All right. So I'm going to take that white paint. I'm just going to go back over. I'm just going to paint right back over my petals. I'm just kind of going over, maybe if something looks a little uneven, maybe I can bring a little bit of thickness to one side to meet the other. No big deal. And then I'm going to go around my circle as well with my white paint while I'm here. And thicken that up a little bit. Okay. This glare is really serious today. There we go. All right. So while we're waiting for the white paint to dry, right, there's like a bunch of stuff that can go on around the chakra. And this is also going to help like fix any boo-boos. Like I've got, you can't see it so much, but yeah, there we go. All my fingerprints are on there. So we're going to go back around. We're going to clean it up a little bit. So on this little finished piece here, you'll see I have some details, like a little bit of pink going in the center and in the center of my petals. That kind of gives this chakra a little bit of personality. So we're going to go ahead and do some of that. So now we want to move, if you have a small square brush or even a small round brush, something a little bit thicker than your pointy brush, you can move to that. And I'm going to take some of my magenta, maybe two scoops of magenta and 1 really tiny scoop of blue, and mix those together. And then let's see if you can see, that's going to give me kind of like this really light lavender purple. So I'm going to take that and I'm going to start to work around the edge of my chakra circle. And that's going to clean up. That's going to clean up the edges. And I'm just using the edge of my brush with that lavender mixture to clean up the inside of my circle. And you can also do that on the outside of your circle into your petals. If you have any scratchy bits or any white paint that got away from you. You can also take that around the petal edges. And start to clean it up that way. So now that we've got our inner edges cleaned up, you can also go to your outer edges. So at this point, if you're finding that maybe like one petal looks really big on one side and not the same on the other side, you can always like cut into that white a little bit. So I'm going to do another mixture. So my blue. And again, this chakra is indigo. So indigo is more on the blue side, kind of like a purpley blue. So it's okay to vary in your purples, your blues, and your pinks. So now I'm going to take this purple around the outside edge. Cleaning up that edge. There we go. And then, oh yes, and also my fingerprints. Just going to do that circular brush stroke right over those. All those boo-boos. Just paint right over them. With a little bit of purple. You take a little blue into there. At this point, it's your chakra. Because, I mean, all the basics are in there. So we're just playing now. And now I'm going to go into my magenta here, or crimson or pink. And I'm going to keep that more on the crimson-y side. And then take a little bit of white to sort of lighten it up. Make it a light pink. And I'm going to take some of this lighter color. And I'm going to go to the center of my triangle. And do a couple of brush strokes in the center there. And it's making like a focal point into our chakra. And that's important for this chakra because it really hones in that this chakra is about focus. About like knowing your direction and going that way. I'm going to bring some of that light pink on the outside or on the inside of my circle and the outside of my triangle too. And I'll go back into my magenta, maybe some of that darker purple color. So just a little bit more blue. And then go on the outside of that pink circle I just made and blend that pink into the purple. So just around the outside edge of that pink, I'm going to start to bring some of that purple out. So it doesn't look like so much of a target. Ooh, another good place that pink can go. And again, you can just mix right back into that color. Can go right in our petals. So right from the center of my petal, I'm going to put a couple of these light pink brush strokes right on the center of my petal, right against the edge of my circle. I don't even think you can see that. Let me see. Make it lighter so you can see it. I've got some of my magenta. I'm just going to put a lot of white in there. And yours can be more subtle than mine, but I want to make sure you can see it on camera. So just right against the circle there, a couple of brush strokes. And then, while that's wet, I can take my brush, wipe off some of that paint, and then go to the edge of that pink and work it into the purple. And kind of blends it out. Makes it more subtle. All right. And then if you want, and this is up to you, you can take some of that pink and you can bring it to the outside, kind of just really fortifying that whirlpool, making it really obvious. So I'm just going to take that same square brush. I'm going to start to make some circular type brush strokes, kind of like an arch, frowny face, if you will, and just work it into the paint. And they don't have to be circles. They can just be like half brush strokes. Just in a circular motion. Big movements with your arms. And then there it is. That's it. Now you can see the finished version. It's always hard to see with the wet paint. There we go. Hey, that's not half bad with the glare. But that is our Ajna chakra. So we are all done. We have one more chakra left to go, our Sahasrara chakra, which is our crown chakra. It's, for me, it's just like all about inspiration. It's, you know, it's, you can think of it as union with the universe, union with the divine, union with everything around you. But really, like, what that chakra is to me is that time when you're hanging out in the shower and you get this awesome idea and you're like, oh my God, I have to write it down, but you're in the shower and you can't write it down. So it's those awesome ideas that you get, like, you know, when you're getting ready for bed, when you're settled down, when your mind is still, and you just get this stroke of inspiration. So, you know, without getting like too big and too lofty about it, like, these are all concepts that, you know, that we can grasp. And these are all, like, every chakra is something that we can work with and we can take into ourselves and just take a deeper look at ourselves, and I don't know, and then something pretty to look at the end. I love chakras. So thank you so much for joining me for this. We've got one more left, so I hope I see you next Friday, the 29th. Hi, Daniel. I see that you joined on. I see your comments. Nice to see you. So next Friday is going to be our crown chakra, and that will be our last chakra. Hopefully in the future, I have some more virtual workshops to go into. I'm going to turn my gears, see what else I can come up with. But this has been, like, really fun and just like a really awesome thing to do during these uncertain times. Like, just, you know, something to keep the weeks, keep track of the days, at least for me. It's been really helpful. So I'm going to try to leave, at least put some links here that you can click. Maybe it's too late probably in the video to leave a link up there, but we'll see what I can do. So check these out for the chakra playlist so that you can catch up. And then if you want to do a little yoga, I'll put that here too. All right, guys, it's been awesome. See you next Friday.